Hey crypto friends, for those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Garrett and I am a crypto day trader who absolutely loves moving averages. And in today's educational video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to dominate crypto shorting with moving averages, or specifically the 7-period simple moving average. And for those of you who love trading crypto and would like to try out the same crypto exchange that I use on a daily basis, feel free to go ahead and try out the Blowfin exchange with the link in the video description down below this video. I personally love this exchange because they allow anybody from anywhere to be able to sign up and trade crypto futures. So if you are from the United States like I am and you want to trade crypto futures, you can do it right here on the Blowfin exchange. All right, guys, so I'm not the type to dilly-dally around, and we are just going to dive right into this video. All right, so the very first thing that I do when I am shorting crypto or looking for potential shorting options is actually this is the first thing I do before I'm looking to open any kind of trades whatsoever. The very first thing I do is I check all of my different coins on various time frames, and what I do is I mark out the 4 most important levels within the current range that the coin is trading in. Okay, so as you guys can clearly see here, I've got Gala opened up right now, and right here I've actually got 5 levels marked out, typically because I just want to show you more examples here. Okay, now after I've got my ranges all out, or my support and resistance ranges all set up, the next thing that I do is I typically look for candlestick patterns that are forming, or instances where it maybe looks like bullish momentum is dropping and bearish momentum is growing within the candles themselves. Okay, now what I'm talking about here is I'm typically talking about candlestick patterns, and there's a lot of them that happen. Okay, so I've got my handy cheat sheet here, and if you guys want a copy of this, you can go ahead and get one too. I'll send it to you, but you'll have to get it from if you go ahead and give me a follow here on Twitter at Garrett_N_stuff, go ahead and send me a DM and I'll go ahead and send it over to you. Other than that, so the very first thing that I do here looking for candlestick patterns is I look for these bearish candlestick patterns. So as you guys can clearly see, one of the ones that stands out here that I'm already seeing here is right up here at the top of this uptrend right going on right here. Okay, so we can clearly see that we do have technically an inverted hammer candle going on, right here. But since it is at the top of an uptrend, we can technically consider it to be more of a shooting star candle, as you guys can clearly see it right here. Shooting star candles, they pretty much look the same as inverted hammer candles. The only difference is shooting stars, they show themselves at the top of an uptrend, which is kind of what we have right here. This is the top of the uptrend, as you can clearly see. And the inverted hammer candles, they typically show at the bottom of a downtrend, all right? And they're typically green, okay? So we can clearly see that even though this one is green, we are at the very tippy top of a bullish trend that happened right here. And as you guys can clearly see, it resulted in the next candle obviously opening bearish and going to the downside, all right? Now, the way that I would have traded this is if I'm looking at this and I'm looking for potential shorts, if I see that candle happen right here, actually when I see these 3 candles happening here, you can clearly see just within the candles themselves that bearish or that bullish momentum was starting to drop. And you can see that just by looking at the wicks in the candles themselves. Notice how the bodies of all of these candles are pretty dang small, but the wicks are all very long. That tells us that bears are pushing the price down, all right? And when bears are pushing the price down like that with a lot of momentum, kind of in a flat line like that, you can clearly see going like that, that tells you that bears are starting to take over and bullish momentum is starting to kind of weaken and go to the downside. All right, so that tells us right there that once we've got this next candle right here, which ended up being a shooting star candle, that tells us that, okay, we are very close to a movement coming to the downside. All right, because you can see it just by looking at the candles themselves, all this momentum here going on. Now, the way that I would have traded this is obviously, since this video is about moving averages, I've got my 7-period simple moving average right here, okay? As you can clearly tell, it hugs the price action like nobody's business, all right? And as you can clearly also tell, when price is extremely bullish and we're in an uptrend, the price action is always on top are above or on top of the moving average, as you guys can clearly see. And when things are bearish, or when things turn bearish, price action is always below the moving average, as you can clearly see. So when we start to get a, we've got a movement right here, we've got the candlestick pattern going, the bearish candlestick pattern going on right here, which would be the shooting star. And then the next candle opened up red, and then we ended up crossing through this moving average here to the downside. So I would have entered a trade right then and there. And if you would have ended up doing the same thing, I mean, you could have ended up profiting pretty decently. Even if you only held it just for the next 4-hour candle going on right here, you would have made roughly about 60% profits right there. All right. That is damn good profit. But if you were to have held the whole thing all the way straight down, and like if you're more of a seasoned trader and you would have held it all the way straight down, all the way to the downside here, you would have made roughly around anywhere from, Jesus, I mean, God, if you're using 10x leverage here, that would have been about a solid 200% trade that happened right in there within 3 days of trading. Okay. So right there, that is kind of overall what I'm talking about here as far as what to look for when you are looking for potential shorts here. So you can go ahead and look for bearish candlestick patterns just like that to be able to tell what is overall happening in the market. And kind of the same thing happened right here as well, okay? We had right here again, we had another candle that is, I mean, it's not exactly a shooting star candle, as you guys can clearly see, but it's close enough to tell you that, bullish momentum was not being sustained and bears still had control right there, especially considering the fact that this candle ended up closing on top of the moving average instead of above it. So that tells you again right there that bears still do have control, and we're probably going to move to the downside, which, as you guys can clearly see, we clearly moved back down to the downside. So if you were to have ended up trading that one, so this first one could have netted you, or could have made you roughly around, right around 60% profits or so. This next one could have profited you, let's see here, let's say you didn't get in until the next candle opened, the next one could have profited you around 70% profits right there, okay? So overall here, you could have made roughly, a little over 100% profits just within a couple days there. So that's pretty damn decent if you ask me, to be honest with you, all right? Now, another thing that I want to show you here, another way that I want to show you here that you can tell that a bearish movement could be happening soon is if price action lingers around the moving average without moving very much and eventually drops to the downside and straight through the bottom of the moving average, okay? So what I'm talking about lingering here is I'm talking about this little section going on right here, okay? As you can tell, there wasn't much volume in these candles whatsoever. They're kind of very, very skinny and flat here, kind of like pancakes, okay? That tells you that there's just realistically, there's not much volume going through the market right there whatsoever. And buyers and sellers, they don't know exactly what to do yet. There's not enough bullish momentum going on, and you can clearly see that right within the candles themselves because they're very, very flat and they're not big and gigantic, all right? So when we're lingering around this, around around the moving average like this, that is a no-go. That is not something you want to have. And another way that you can tell that too is obviously you can clearly tell that, realistically, this kind of created, obviously this is technically what's considered a bear flag as well. It just depends the way you look at it, but technically that would have been a bear flag also right there. So that could have been another way you could have been able to tell that, it was going to move to the downside. But realistically, when it lingers like this and there's not much volume going on whatsoever, obviously that's going to tell you that, price action could end up going either way. But here we had the next candle ended up opening after some time here, and it did end up dropping to the downside. And once it ended up dropping with big volume to the downside past the moving average, that right there tells me that, okay, well, bearish momentum took over again. We need to get into this trade. So let's say you didn't obviously end up catching it right at the moving average. Let's say you ended up catching it right here on the next candle. Even if you caught it right here on the next candle and you rode it all the way down, you would have made roughly around within an 8-hour period, you would have made with 10x leverage, you would have made roughly around 100% profits right there, okay? So there's all kinds of different ways that you can look for different shorting opportunities. And the reason why I'm talking about shorting opportunities in this video is because there's a lot of people out there who are just straight up scared to get into short positions. But here's the thing. That's the great thing about the futures market with crypto is we can profit from the market dropping, okay? And if you can profit from the market dropping, why wouldn't you do it, right? I mean, that's free money right there. If you can do it accurately and you know what the hell you're doing, go ahead and do it. Make money. I mean, shit, that's kind of why we're all here, is to make money, right? So go ahead and do it. So another example that I want to show you guys right here is going to be another candlestick pattern right there, okay? So we got to the top of this uptrend. As you can clearly see, we had this big inverted hammer candle that went up to the upside, but the next bullish candle that went up, it went up, but it kind of created a spinning top candle. And as you guys can clearly see, momentum from this candle did not breach or go above the wick of the previous big bullish inverted hammer candle. That tells us that there's not enough bullish momentum here to go on, and we're probably going to end up going down to the downside because there's just not enough momentum here. And you can clearly see that just by looking at the candles themselves. So as you guys can clearly see, the next candle ended up opening. It created what's called a bearish spinning top candle, and you can see that right there. At the top of an uptrend, we get the bearish spinning top candle going on right there. And the reason why it's called a spinning top is because it's got a body in the center with a wick at the bottom and a wick at the top, all right? And so let's go back, and you can clearly see that we got the wick at the bottom, wick at the top, body in the center, all right? So, and that obviously entered into a bearish territory. So we ended up passing through the moving average right here. If you were to have gotten into this trade right there, wrote it down all the way down to this support level, you would have had this support level created because the end of this movement right here ended up creating that support level, all right? So you would have had that marked out. Therefore, you would have expected that, you know, obviously this could end up riding all the way down to that support level, which it pretty much did. So if you were to have traded this, you would have made roughly around 70% profits going on right there, okay? So overall here, guys, there's all kinds of different ways that you can spot short opportunities. This is just my personal way of looking for short opportunities. As I mentioned before, I'm a huge moving average fan. I love using moving averages with trading. They work very, very well for me. They're not going to work for everybody, but they work very, very well for me, and I've been using them for quite a while now. And again, they work great for me, and I'm going to continue to use them. So overall here, guys, if you guys have any questions about this or any concerns or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. I love helping people. It's what I do best, and this is why I do these types of videos, is because I want people to learn. I want people to know and understand how to trade independently so that they don't need to rely on copy trading, so that they don't need to rely on getting help from others all the time, or so they don't need to rely on copying influencers on Twitter, okay? So overall here, before I go ahead and wrap up this video, if any of you guys want to see more educational videos like this, you can go ahead and find them in my YouTube channel here. If you go to playlists and go to technical analysis, I've put all of my trading educational videos right in my technical analysis playlist here, so you will find them all right there. But other than that, you guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button below the video, and leave me a comment below on your personal thoughts of this video. And with that said, big thanks to all of you guys who stuck around and watched this entire video throughout the whole thing. I appreciate all of you, and I hope to see you all in my future videos as well.